I'm really sorry. It's okay. Take your time and tell me slowly. I gently spoke to my niece Olivia, who was on the verge of tears, trying to say something. Well, actually. Before saying anything, she pulled something out of her pocket and played an audio recording. What is this? I was shocked by what I heard and regretted my naivety. I never imagined it was such a sad situation. Such a painful situation. I cried at the enormity of it all, and then I resolved to do what needed to be done. My name is Charlotte. I am a professional working at an IT company. I hold a position and earn enough to live comfortably. Despite this, I live with my parents at their home. I had planned to live alone, but since my workplace is close to home and remote work is possible, I decided to contribute to the household expenses and live with them. My parents also preferred that I stay with them because they felt lonely with just the two of them. I have an older sister, Amelia, who is 2 years older than me. Amelia lived happily with her kind husband and daughter, Olivia, until 3 years ago when her husband passed away due to illness. At the funeral, seeing Amelia devastated, I said, "Amelia, why don't you come back to our parents' house until you feel better? You have Olivia to consider as well." "Charlotte, thank you for worrying about me. But I'm fine," Amelia replied, refusing to come back to our parents' house. At that time, I found it slightly suspicious that she was so determined not to come back, but since she had a strong personality, I thought she didn't want to rely on our parents. After that, Amelia worked hard as a single mother, balancing her job and raising Olivia. Of course, after her husband's death, her burden increased, and I made sure to stay in touch with her frequently. Amelia always reassured me that she had regained her strength and there was nothing to worry about, giving the same answer each time. However, despite our regular contact, she fell ill and passed away a year ago. My niece, Olivia, who was still in elementary school, came to live with us. When Olivia arrived at our home, she had a dark expression. I remembered her as a cheerful and lively girl when Amelia and her husband were alive. She was so full of energy. It must have been the shock of losing both parents in quick succession. Thinking about this, I wanted to help her regain her spirits as soon as possible. My parents often tried to talk to Olivia, but she remained unresponsive. Even when we tried to go out together on weekends, she didn't seem interested, and I didn't want to force her, so I didn't insist too much. Such a life continued, and about 3 months later, Olivia started to cry and apologized to me when my parents were not around. "Charlotte, I'm sorry."
What's wrong? Did something bad happen?
"No, it's not that. But I'm sorry." She had never cried before, so I was surprised. I couldn't hide my astonishment at how sudden it was. However, no matter how many times I asked Olivia for a reason, she wouldn't tell me anything. She just cried and apologized. But she didn't cry when my parents were around, which made me more and more suspicious. There was one more thing I was curious about. A few years ago, my parents suddenly started traveling frequently. Traveling is fine, but I didn't think they had enough savings, even though I was contributing to the household expenses. Sure, I gave them a bit extra when I got a bonus. Even so, combined with their Social Security, it shouldn't be that much. My father was a mid-level manager at a small company. Since he retired, he hasn't worked because I'm here to support them. As for my mother, she was always a housewife and never had a part-time job. She was bad at housework, so I ended up doing most of it.
Dad, Mom, it's fine to travel occasionally, but please save some money.
You don't have to tell us that. We do our shopping by carefully budgeting our money.
I worked hard for you all my life. And now I'm nearing the end of my life. Don't say such sad things. Then let us enjoy ourselves. Don't interfere with what we do. Fine, fine.
I half-jokingly suggested they save a little, but my parents wouldn't listen, saying they were nearing the end of their lives, and I was exasperated. Every time my parents went on a trip, Olivia seemed like she wanted to say something but never did. I thought it was better not to force her to talk until she was ready. A few months later, my father cheerfully spoke to me.
Oh, Charlotte.
What? What's up?
Mom and I are going on a week-long trip overseas soon. What? An overseas trip? Where's the money coming from? I just told you to save.
We came into a bit of money.
From where?
Does it matter? Just let us make some memories in our old age, okay? Mom's right. Let us create memories of having gone on an overseas trip.
Fine.
Even if they got some money, it was strange that they wouldn't say where it came from. I thought it was suspicious, but since it was their money, I didn't press further.
We're off then.
Make sure you take care of the house while we're gone. I will. Be careful and have a good trip. On the day of the trip, my parents left cheerfully, saying they would bring back souvenirs. After seeing them off at the door, I turned back to the living room and found Olivia standing there. She looked like she was about to cry and immediately looked down. Thinking that this couldn't go on, and being concerned for a while now, I decided to gently ask her for the reason. Olivia, what's wrong? My parents have left on their trip, so it's just the two of us now. You can talk to me about anything, okay? I'm sorry. As I gently asked, Olivia began to cry and apologize again. While I was wondering what to do. Charlotte, actually. Olivia said, taking a smartphone out of her pocket and pressing play on a voice recording app. The recorded sound was my parents yelling.
What is this?
No doubt about it, it was Dad and Mom's voices. But even though they would scold us, I had never heard them raise their voices like this. Since childhood, I had never heard them shout, so I was shocked.
Is this really my parents?
Yes. When Mom and Dad were still alive, they used to come to our house a lot. With that, Olivia began to tell her story. According to Olivia, my parents frequently visited Amelia and her husband before they passed away, persistently complaining. The content of their complaints was that they were against Amelia and her husband's marriage. They also made unreasonable demands for money, claiming it was for taking their daughter away. Hearing this, I was shocked to learn what kind of people my parents really were. Olivia continued, saying that they often threatened her mom and dad, demanding money under the pretense of coming to see their granddaughter. Whenever Grandpa and Grandma came, I always stayed in the bedroom. Probably because Amelia and her husband didn't want you to be scared. I think so too. But they were always shouting at Mom and Dad, and it was really terrifying. I see. That must have been tough. But how did you manage to record this? Well, Olivia explained that she had been given an old smartphone that Amelia and her husband no longer used as a toy, and she happened to have it with her, so she recorded the incident. If she was using it as a toy, she would have known how to use it to some extent. It was fortunate that she recorded this. Then, I asked something else that was on my mind. Hey Olivia, how often did Grandpa and Grandma come to your house? I think they came almost every week.
So, they were visiting Amelia and her husband that often without my knowledge.
But when I think back to what Olivia said, from when exactly? Every time I saw Amelia and her husband, they seemed more gaunt, rather than just slim. I had once asked Amelia if she was all right, and she told me she was on a diet with her husband because she had gained a little weight, so I believed her. But in reality, it wasn't that, it was probably because their lives were being made difficult by my parents. I regretted not probing deeper for the real reason.
If only I had noticed Amelia and her husband's distress sooner, this wouldn't have happened.
I'm sorry for hiding it all this time too. But I didn't know what Grandpa and Grandma would do if I told you, Charlotte. With that, she started crying again. Regretting my own ignorance, I hugged her. As I held her, I made a firm decision. From now on, I'll protect you, Olivia. You can rest easy.
But if you do that, who knows what they'll do to you, Charlotte?
Don't worry about me. I won't let those parents of mine beat me. Instead, I plan to get back at them. Will you help me, Olivia?
Yes. If I'm with you, Charlotte, I'm not scared. Let me help,
Olivia said with determined eyes. Nodding at her words, I decided to prepare various things in the week before my parents returned. Feeling reassured with Olivia's help, I asked her more about everything that had happened. I also remembered that Amelia and her husband were frugal and led a modest life. Amelia once told me they didn't like to spend extravagantly and rarely carried much cash. If that's the case, Amelia and her husband must have used bank transfers to give money to Dad and Mom. If so, there should be some trace left behind. I started to search the house thoroughly. There it is. As expected, they're sloppy. Finding the bank statement so easily means they were careless. I checked the contents of the bank statement I found while rummaging through the house. I confirmed the amounts that must have been transferred while Amelia and her husband were alive. They sent this much every month? No wonder Amelia and her husband lived such a frugal life. Clenching the bank statement in anger, I trembled. I took the bank statement to a legal support company. I asked them to investigate the connection between Amelia, her husband, and my parents that I was unaware of. A few days later, I was called to the legal support company. Here is the investigation report. The investigator handed me the report, and I began to read it.
No way!
According to the report, it was revealed that my BIL had borrowed money from a predatory lender to give to my parents. As a result, he became mentally distressed and eventually died from an illness. As I continued reading the report, my anger grew. It turned out that Amelia had worked herself to death, trying to repay the debt left by her deceased husband and to satisfy my parents' extortion. Moreover, Olivia had been subjected to my parents' taunts, being told things like, "You should be grateful to be here," when I wasn't around. Learning this made me burst into tears.
How horrible! I had no idea this was happening.
Additionally, our investigation revealed that your parents had even taken your BIL's insurance money.
No way!
I looked at the additional report handed to me. It confirmed that my parents had indeed taken my BIL's insurance money. They must have used that money for their frequent travels. I thanked the lawyer and went home. Before my parents returned from their overseas trip, Olivia and I devised a plan.
Do you think we can do it?
It'll be fine. We still have time, so let's practice a lot.
Yes. I'll do my best.
A few days later, Olivia and I were fully prepared, waiting for my parents to return. We had set up several cameras in the house to record both video and audio as evidence. Of course, this was done with the lawyer's advice and approval, so there was no problem.
We're home.
Welcome back. Did you have a good time? Yes, it was wonderful. Where's Olivia? We bought a lot of souvenirs.
Olivia is in her room doing homework. You must be tired from the trip, so why don't you relax for a bit?
You're right.
Can I get a coffee?
All right, I'll get it for you. Should I do it?
It's okay. I'll make Dad's coffee.
Okay, I understand. My parents returned home looking satisfied. It was their first overseas trip, so they must have had a great time. I listened to their stories about the trip for a while. Oh, sorry. I got a call from work, so I have to step out. At this hour? It happens sometimes. I'll be back soon. Be careful. All right. Listening to my parents' stories, I felt it was a good time to pretend I had to go out for work. Of course, this was the signal for our plan. After leaving the house, I called Olivia. Hello, Olivia? I've left the house. Got it. Olivia, keeping the call connected, went to my parents.
Welcome back.
Olivia. We bought a lot of souvenirs for you.
Thank you, but I need to talk to you.
What is it? Speak up. In response to my father's words, Olivia played the recording she had shared with me.
Where did you get that? Olivia, be a good girl and hand that over.
My parents showed surprise and panic at the recorded voice. I'm going to let Charlotte hear this.
Olivia, please don't do that.
If you do that, you know what will happen, don't you?
But I don't think this is right.
We took you in when you had no one. You should be grateful and do as we say. Yes, and because we took you in, we receive government support money.
Then, why are you kind to Charlotte?
Both my parents, in a fit of rage, insulted Olivia. Olivia, on the verge of tears, continued in a trembling voice.
We're only kind to her because she provides for us.
That's right. We live off Social Security alone, so we have no money. And if Charlotte weren't here, who would take care of the house? Exactly. If we keep her here and treat her kindly, she'll always give us money when needed. She's a convenient tool.
No way!
Hearing my parents' true feelings, I couldn't bear to let Olivia endure any more fear. I decided to return home. My anger, combined with what they felt about me, reached its peak. I violently opened the front door and headed to the living room.
I heard everything!
I flung open the living room door with a loud noise and shouted, Charlotte? When did you get here? What about work?
That doesn't matter. What matters is I heard your true feelings. You think of me as just a source of money and a housekeeper.
Of course. We're no longer working. How do you expect us to live on Social Security alone? That's right. We can't survive without relying on you. My parents, without denying that they viewed me as a source of money and a housekeeper, brazenly admitted it and began to beg me for money. The thought of having stayed in this house for such parents made me feel nauseous.
If you really think that way, Dad and Mom, I won't be providing any more living expenses. And I'm taking Olivia and leaving this house, so don't ever contact us again. I won't allow that. What about our livelihood?
I know that you were extorting money from Amelia and her husband.
What did you say?
Olivia, could it be?
I'm sorry. I've already told everything to Charlotte.
That's right. We have all the evidence, so there's no use in denying it. I told Olivia to go get her belongings, and she obediently nodded and went back to her room to pack.
You're serious, Charlotte?
This is a joke, right? You won't abandon us, will you?
No, I'm abandoning you too. I never thought you two could be such horrible people.
After confirming that Olivia had packed her belongings, I extended my hand and we left the house. We moved to a hotel near my workplace, which I had arranged in advance. However, we didn't stay in the hotel for long and managed to secure a new place to live within a few days. A few days after Olivia and I left the house and began living in our new home, I received a phone call from the police.
What? Is that true?
The police informed me that my parents had been arrested for shoplifting. No way. I had only left the house a few days ago. There's no way the money I used to give them could have run out in such a short time. Besides, they had been receiving money from Amelia and her husband and were also getting government support for taking in Olivia. Thinking these thoughts, I reluctantly headed to the police station to bail them out. My parents, sitting quietly, muttered apologies. We're sorry.
We just gave in to temptation for a moment,
they said. I apologized to the police officer and took my parents back home. When we returned to the house, all utilities, electricity, gas, and water had been shut off due to non-payment. The place was a mess, with garbage and unnecessary items scattered everywhere and a terrible smell lingering in the air. Well, Mom was always bad at housekeeping and never did it properly. It's no wonder the house turned into such a state in just a few days.
Why is everything shut off? Did you really have no money? And what's with the state of this house? Of course we have no money. We were enjoying ourselves for our retirement. I can't manage the house. And my body doesn't move like it used to. When you took Olivia and left, the government support stopped coming in. My social security is too little. How are we supposed to live like this?
Dad's right. If you had continued sending money even after you left, we wouldn't have had to do those things. My parents were furious, blaming me for everything. I could only sigh at their words. This is all your own doing, isn't it? I told you many times to save money, didn't I? Who was it that went on week-long trips every few months despite my warnings?
Enough. That doesn't matter. Just give us money. You need to pay all the utility bills. Otherwise, we can't live in this house. And call a cleaning service for this house. We can't live in such a dirty place.
All my parents demanded was money. They ended up blaming everything on me. I felt nothing but exasperation beyond anger. Really, you can't admit your own faults. Fine, then.
What did you say? What do you want us to admit? If you can't see it, there's nothing more to be done. I'm cutting ties with you. This is your final notice. Don't contact me ever again.
With that, I left the house. A month later, the house, which was once my family home, was vacant. In fact, the house was purchased under my name. My parents had forgotten this after living there for so long. As soon as Olivia and I left, I sold the house, forcing my parents to move out. Once the situation settled down, I went around the neighborhood to apologize for any trouble caused. That's when I heard that loan sharks had been lurking around the house. My parents must have turned to them out of desperation. There were also rumors that an old couple in dirty clothes had been seen in the park. Afterward, I adopted Olivia as my own child. Now, we share a bond stronger than that of true family. Seeing her face gradually regain its natural brightness filled me with joy. I vowed to continue watching over her growth and to reassure Amelia and her husband.
You're just a useless leech, you know that?
While packing for my sister's wedding, my mother-in-law Emma spilled beer on me.
With no earnings of your own, attending a wedding on someone else's dime, you're like a thief.
She dumps all the household work on me, treating me like a housekeeper. I've endured it until now, but this treatment is just too much. Can't even manage household chores properly, yet you want to go to a wedding. How selfish of you. Smirking as he joins in, is my husband, Oliver. My name is Ava. a 32-year-old housewife. I met Oliver through friends and agreed to marry him on the condition that I quit my job to focus on household duties and live with his parents. Initially resistant to living together, I reluctantly agreed, thinking it would reduce the burden of rent if I quit my job. But soon after moving in, I realized this was a mistake.
Your soup is always too thick. Drinking this constantly would lead to high blood pressure.
I'm sorry. I thought I had made it thinner, but my in-laws never seem satisfied with my cooking. They always complain about my dishes, yet Emma never cooks.
If we get sick, it's your fault. I'm sorry, I'll be careful.
Even as I apologize, Oliver, sitting next to me, pretends not to notice. He never stands up for me. Emma regularly invites her friends over for tea parties.
Hurry up with the snacks. You're always so slow. Move it.
Serving snacks and making coffee are always my responsibilities. And so is washing and tidying up the mountains of dishes after they leave. When I talk to Oliver about it,
it's natural for a wife to help out when mom's having fun.
He's unresponsive.
Mom, why don't you get the trendy pastries from the station for tomorrow's tea party? That's a good idea, but the line there is always so long. Just have Ava do it. Right, Ava? Go line up early tomorrow and buy them.
With that, he leaves for work. I'm not just a housekeeper. My frustration keeps growing. It's infuriating that both Emma and Oliver treat me like a slave. On top of that, living on Oliver's salary and his parents' pension is barely manageable, yet they insist on expensive snacks and coffee for these tea parties. While they are harsh to me at home, Emma and Oliver maintain a good public image, leaving me with no one to understand my plight.
People say living with in-laws is tough, but your mother-in-law seems so kind.
I don't know how to respond to such comments. What I really want to say is,
I'm being harassed by my mother-in-law.
But I'm too scared to make a fuss and stay silent.
Your husband even greets us every morning.
Oliver only takes out the trash to maintain a good impression with the neighbors. I'm the one who gathers all the trash and prepares the bags at the entrance. He just carries them to the trash collection area.
He even helps with taking out the trash. What a cooperative husband you have. I'm envious.
Should I be grateful that at least my husband takes out the trash, unlike some men who don't do even that? He never clears the table after eating and leaves cups wherever he last used them. His habit of leaving clothes strewn about only adds to my endless chores. Despite being a housewife herself, Emma does no household work at all.
Bring the coffee before being asked. You're always so slow.
I'm swamped with chores from morning till night and can hardly keep up with my in-laws' coffee demands. Emma, who never lifts a finger herself, is quick to tell me what to do. And always finds something I haven't done to criticize.
Can't you do something about the water stains in the bathroom? You're supposed to clean before it gets dirty. It's embarrassing how incompetent my daughter-in-law is at household tasks.
Afraid of the consequences of talking back, I rarely do. Feeling obligated because I live here, I think it's my fault for not doing a good enough job at housework and constantly get berated for being an inadequate wife. I tell myself I need to do better. Even when going shopping, I have to ask for money in advance, and then return with the change and receipts. Since the receipts are always checked, I can't even buy things I like for myself.
I'm sorry. Could I have some money to buy socks?
I've been mending my socks, but now they're so worn out that there are holes in them.
For your socks, $1 should be enough, right?
When handed just $1, I felt like crying out of frustration. Back when I was single, I used to treat myself to clothes or drinks with friends. Now, I don't have any money to spend freely. My parents have passed away and I have no other relatives to turn to, so I thought I had no choice but to endure. A few days later, I received a wedding invitation from my sister, Sophia. After our parents died, we relied on each other. I desperately wanted to attend her important wedding. I begged Oliver and Emma, who were having their evening drink.
Please, let me go to my sister's wedding. A wedding? That'll cost money. Do you really have to go?
Emma seemed very reluctant. You don't need to go, right?
It's a waste of money.
Oliver was not on my side either. In this house, there's no one on my side.
Fine. Go if you want. I don't want our family to be spoken ill of because of your absence.
Emma reluctantly agreed.
Really, you're such a useless money eater. Mom is really kind, isn't she?
No matter what they said, I was glad to be allowed to go to the wedding. I immediately started packing my bag. While packing clothes, I felt someone behind me. Turning around, I saw Emma standing there. Then, she suddenly threw her beer on me.
What are you doing?
Emma, without hiding her displeasure, said,
Going to a wedding with someone else's money, you're like a thief.
She was still angry about me going to the wedding. I do housework every day and never waste money. I had wanted to attend friends' weddings, but had always declined. Is it so wrong to want to attend my only sibling's wedding?
I'm sick of even looking at you. Just leave and never come back.
I was lost for words at such harshness. Can't even do housework properly, and you want to go to a wedding?
How selfish.
Oliver smirked, joining in with his parents.
Understood.
I replied weakly.
The drink's gone bad. Let's start over.
With that, they left the room. Tears dripped onto the bag I was packing. I didn't bother to wipe them away and focused on packing. Not just clothes, but also my parents' photo and other valuables went into the bag. Attending the wedding and seeing my sister's radiant face was overwhelming.
Sophia, congratulations.
As I spoke these words in the dressing room, my sister's expression changed instantly.
Big sis, what happened to you? You've lost so much weight. Are you okay?
My sister looked concerned.
Your complexion is really poor. Are you eating properly?
It's her big day, and I feel terrible for causing her worry. I try to force a smile, but my face contorts, and tears start to fall instead.
Just sit down for a minute. There's still time. Please, tell me what's been going on.
I told my sister everything that had happened.
That's just terrible. I've been told never to come back.
I wonder what I should do now. Should I return to that house and continue living as a housekeeper? I didn't want to go back, but felt like I had no choice.
Listen to me, sis. Listen carefully.
My sister said, looking into my eyes.
Don't go back to that house. Just because they're family, it doesn't give them the right to take away your freedom. But I have nowhere else to go. I have to go back to that house.
My sister took my hand.
It's okay. I'm here for you. I'll always stand by you and protect you.
After the wedding, my sister helped me find a new apartment, and I started a new life without returning to my in-laws. A week later, Oliver contacted me. I didn't want to answer, but he kept calling, so I reluctantly picked up.
Where are you? Come back already,
he shouted as soon as I answered. I was surprised for a moment, but I'm not the same person anymore. After talking a lot with my sister, I realized how abnormal my in-laws' house was. At first, I thought it was my fault for not being good at housework.
You're not the one at fault.
But my sister kept encouraging me.
I was told never to come back, so I won't be returning.
I could hear a click of the tongue over the phone.
Stop being insolent and come back to apologize to Mom.
I was amazed at how much he took Emma's side.
I don't want to come back. I can't take it anymore. You're living in our house without earning or even doing proper housework. Just come back now.
He hung up after that. But even living separately, the ties to my in-laws' house remained. To discuss a divorce, I went to my in-laws' house with my sister and her husband. The first thing I noticed was a foul smell when we entered. It smelled like rotting garbage that hadn't been taken out for days. Laundry was scattered everywhere, and the sink was overflowing with dishes. Had the house gotten this bad in just a few weeks? I was shocked at how different it was from when I lived there. We moved things around to make space to sit. Then, I spoke up.
I want a divorce. What? Don't joke around,
Oliver said, slamming his hand on the table.
It's true. You're complaining about having an incompetent wife living here, aren't you?
Both Oliver and Emma reacted angrily, unable to accept it. But I had made up my mind. I wouldn't run away anymore.
Just come back and do your housework. It's your fault the house is dirty.
They blamed me for the mess they made living there.
Please calm down.
My sister intervened.
Ava wants a divorce. And since she's been treated so harshly, we'll be requesting alimony in the divorce case.
Oliver and his parents were taken aback by the mention of alimony.
What are you talking about? We haven't done anything wrong.
They had no sense of guilt despite their mistreatment. Once again, I decided that I would definitely cut ties with these people.
No, based on what Ava has told us, we believe an alimony claim in the divorce case is justified.
Oliver, still in disbelief, shouted.
What? If you want alimony that badly, hire a lawyer or whatever. You probably don't have the money for it, but go ahead. We'll do whatever it takes for the case.
I wasn't scared of his threatening words.
Yes. That's exactly what we plan to do. I am Ava's representative, her lawyer.
At my sister's words, Oliver and his parents were lost for words.
My husband is also a lawyer, so the two of us will fight this with all our might. Be prepared, okay? What did you say? As for the legal fees, I couldn't possibly accept money for helping dear Ava, who has always been so kind to me.
My sister was methodically explaining while cornering him.
In preparation for the divorce case, we've reviewed Ava's diaries and emails. They will all be submitted as evidence. I heard about the incident with the beer being thrown at you. Is that true? That is...
She spoke calmly as a lawyer, but it was clear my sister was quite angry.
I understand Ava was also pushed by you. That was just me scolding her for not being able to mop properly.
Emma was increasingly becoming flustered.
Does scolding leave bruises? I was shocked to see the bruises when we met at the wedding. We immediately took her to the hospital for treatment, and of course, we have a medical report.
Emma seemed at a loss for words.
This evidence will also be submitted.
My sister and her husband listened to my story attentively, gathering all the evidence. I can't thank them enough.
How can you say that? Don't you feel any gratitude for living here for free?
Emma started yelling in anger.
Exactly. Do you know how much extra it costs just to have you here? Don't mess with me.
Oliver's harsh words made me realize how wrong this marriage was. Shall we continue?
We're recording this entire conversation, you know.
At my sister's words, Oliver and my in-laws were speechless. They didn't expect to be recorded. After that, they became quiet, unable to complain knowing they were being recorded.
Please be aware that any future calls or emails will also be used as evidence. If there is any stalking-like behavior, we will report it.
My sister is an excellent lawyer. Without her, I couldn't have separated or divorced.
You'll agree to the divorce, right? Mediation and legal fees can be quite expensive.
Oliver and the in-laws were whispering, but eventually seemed to agree.
Fine. I'll give you a divorce.
I had them sign the divorce papers before they could change their minds. While talking with my sister after separating, I suddenly wondered, why hadn't Oliver ever been on my side? When I asked her about it, she thought for a moment and then asked, "You know how men can have such fragile egos? Can you think of anything?" I couldn't think of anything in particular. Had I inadvertently hurt Oliver's pride without realizing it? As I pondered this, my sister suggested, "Try remembering things from before you got married." That made me recall something from before the proposal.
Now that you mention it, I remember getting scolded for bragging when I talked about college.
It was during a date, when we saw posters for various university open campuses aimed at high school students. One of them was for my alma mater, which I mentioned, causing him to become noticeably upset. Maybe it's an inferiority complex about education? He gets upset if someone seems superior. Were there other instances? He seemed like someone with high pride. I hadn't thought much of it, but now that I did, several things came to mind.
Actually, I earned a higher salary than him, but after we got married, he insisted I quit my job and become a housewife. Even when I said it's common for both spouses to work these days, he absolutely refused.
Yeah, it's definitely better for both spouses to work. I had doubts, but eventually, I got tired of arguing and quit my job. It was a job I loved and wanted to continue. He probably wanted to trap his wife, who had a higher education and income, at home. Watching you get harassed by your MIL probably satisfied his ego. If that was the reason I was hurt, it's truly sad. I could feel all the love I had left for Oliver disappearing without a trace.
You're ungrateful after we kindly let a poor person like you live here without earning anything.
Emma's sarcasm didn't stop.
Right. Without this house, you'd probably be homeless since you have no money. No need to worry, I have an inheritance left by my parents.
Oliver and the in-laws opened their eyes wide in surprise.
What? You hid that?
I never hid it. I couldn't even say I was using the inheritance to buy groceries, fearing they'd accuse me of stealing money.
So, include that money in the division of property then. Pay the security deposit for the divorce case, and we'll take the rest.
No, that's not how it works.
Property and inheritance before marriage don't enter into the division of property. Huh?
Oliver seemed to think he would get half of my inheritance after the divorce.
That's why only the property acquired after marriage is subject to division. Even as a housewife, I get half, so don't be mistaken. So I have to pay for the division of property and the security deposit for the divorce? That's what I'm saying.
At this, Oliver suddenly became panicked.
Hey, why don't we just keep living here? You won't have to pay rent or anything.
He started to hesitate about the divorce once he realized he'd have to pay. But I already had the divorce papers.
Absolutely not. You never once took my side, just treating me like a housekeeper. I never want to see your face again.
At my firm stance, Oliver had nothing more to say. The divorce went through smoothly, and Oliver had to pay the security deposit for the divorce case. Realizing he couldn't win against a skilled lawyer with all the evidence, he must have given up. After the divorce, Oliver apparently badmouthed me at his company.
I was just deceived. Glad to be rid of such a wicked wife.
He tried to justify himself.
I didn't want to pay the security deposit for the divorce case, but I had to. Eh? That means you did something bad enough to pay for a security deposit, right? That is.
He faltered when a colleague pointed it out.
I just kept her in line as my wife was getting too cocky.
Or,
I scared her with Mom because she was annoying.
that's what he seems to have said. His colleagues, hearing this,
Is Oliver's wife okay?
were worried. Once it was known why he had to pay the security deposit, his position at the company deteriorated. Oliver resigned from the company. With his pride, he probably couldn't stand the cold treatment from his colleagues. The in-laws, now without income, seemed to be living poorly. Oliver's salary wasn't high, and the money for groceries was always limited. I used to find cheap supermarkets and save with points to manage somehow. Without anyone to do housework, their house must be in a mess. Then, Oliver contacted me.
I can't make ends meet and have to sell the family home.
It's not my responsibility.
Can you help us out?
After everything, he still doesn't understand why I wouldn't help. Eventually, the family home was put up for sale. Now, Oliver and his parents live in a cheap apartment, blaming each other for their situation. To me, it's just desserts, but they can't seem to accept responsibility. As for me, I'm returning to the job I loved before marriage. My sister and her husband didn't want payment, but I insisted, to mark the end of it all. A fancy dinner as thanks didn't seem enough to express my gratitude.
Delicious.
My sister said, happily eating, making me happy too. That's why I said so. I'll always protect my sister. My sister was always there for me, on my side. Since I'm family, I want to be able to help you whenever you're in trouble.
I'm done with marriage.
What are you saying? I'm sure there's someone out there who will be on your side. Can someone like me, who had given up on marriage and children, find happiness again? Before, I had no freedom and couldn't hope for the future. But now, I want to walk my own path and reclaim my life. Got any plans for what you want to do? Thinking about it, I said.
First, I'll go buy some fancy socks.
What's that about? Laughing, we enjoyed the moment together.
The day my father destroyed my career in art curation, I learned that standing up for what's right comes with a devastating price. I sat frozen in his expansive corner office at the Thompson Gallery Group headquarters, watching him methodically delete my credentials from the company database. Each click of his mouse felt like a nail in the coffin of my professional future. My name is Emily Thompson, and until that moment, I'd spent 28 years trying to be the perfect daughter to one of New York's most powerful art dealers. But perfect wasn't enough anymore. You're choosing to throw away everything I've built. Dad's voice cut through the silence, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. The late afternoon sun cast harsh shadows across his mahogany desk, highlighting the growing collection of contemporary art catalogs I'd curated, now just painful reminders of what I was about to lose. Sarah's got talent, but she's naive. The market isn't ready for her kind of social commentary. Her work deserves to be seen, I said, my voice steadier than my trembling hands. What you're doing, systematically excluding emerging artists who don't fit your commercial mold. It's everything wrong with the modern art world. Wrong? He swiveled in his chair, his practiced gallery owner smile turning cold. I've built an empire by knowing what sells. Sarah's accusations about Jason stealing her concepts. Do you know what that kind of scandal could do to our reputation? Because he did steal them. The words burst out before I could stop them. I saw her original digital portfolios months before he suddenly developed the same artistic direction. I have the timestamps, Dad. The online galleries where she first posted them. Mom appeared in the doorway, her Chanel suit a perfect match for the sterile corporate environment. Emily, honey, please. Your father knows the art market better than anyone. Does he? I turned to face her, my curator's ID badge suddenly heavy around my neck. Or does he just prefer to believe Jason because he's your son and fits his idea of a proper artist? Dad's face darkened to that dangerous shade I'd learned to fear since childhood. Get out. If you want to throw your lot in with that social media activist masquerading as an artist, then you're no daughter of mine. Turn in your badge. As of now, you're fired. Robert, please, Mom whispered. But he silenced her with a look that had cowed gallery owners and artists alike. I stood, removing my badge with shaking fingers, but refusing to let him see me cry. Remember this moment, Dad. Remember how you chose your empire over the truth. Leaving the gallery, I walked out of that glass and steel monument to my father's ego with nothing but my phone and my art history degrees. My Instagram notifications were already blowing up. Jason had posted another original piece that looked suspiciously like Sarah's early work. My phone buzzed with a message from Maya. My spare room's yours if you need it. Already drafting the social media strategy for your comeback. Sarah's apartment. Evening. That night, I drove to Sarah's small studio apartment in Brooklyn. Street art covered the building's facade. A fitting home for an artist who refused to be silenced. She opened the door, her dark eyes red-rimmed from crying, paint still streaked across her vintage t-shirt. Emily? What are you doing here? I stood up for you, I said, holding up a bottle of wine I'd grabbed from the bodega downstairs. And now I need a drink. We settled on her paint-splattered couch, surrounded by canvases that told stories of resistance and rebirth. Her latest series, digital prints merged with traditional paintings, covered every wall. The same series Jason had somehow coincidentally echoed in his latest gallery showing, launching his career while sabotaging hers. I never asked you to sacrifice everything, Sarah said, pouring cheap Cabernet into coffee mugs, a far cry from the crystal glasses at Dad's gallery openings. Her laptop sat open on the coffee table, displaying her latest Instagram post, a mere 200 likes compared to Jason's 50,000. You didn't have to. I took a long sip, scrolling through the comments on her work. I'm tired of watching him destroy authentic voices just because they don't fit his algorithm for success. What will you do now? I gestured to her latest piece, a phoenix rising from a sea of broken screens and social media icons, its wings spread wide against a blood-red sky. We're going to take everything back. Your art, my reputation, all of it. We? Yes, we. I've got my curator experience. You've got the talent. Let's start our own digital gallery platform. Sarah laughed, but it was a bitter sound. Your father blacklisted me from every major online art space. Jason's got all the influencer connections. Watch me. I pulled out my phone and dialed Maya's number. Hey, remember that empty storefront your uncle was trying to rent? The one with the perfect lighting for live streaming? Maya's voice crackled through the speaker. Yeah, why? Because I'm about to do something either really brave or really stupid. I looked at Sarah. Want to help me prove the old guard wrong? A slow smile spread across Sarah's face as she closed her laptop. You're serious about this? Dead serious. I raised my coffee mug of wine. To new beginnings and digital disruption. Late night planning, Emily. Sarah hesitated, wiping paint from her hands. What if we fail? Then we fail on our own terms, not his. I stood up, feeling more alive than I had in years. But we're not going to fail. We're going to build something so innovative that one day he'll have to look at what we've created and know that everything he believed about marketable art was wrong. Messages and midnight. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. Please come back to the gallery. Your father will reconsider. We can fix this. I typed back while watching Sarah sketch preliminary designs for our website. Nothing to fix. I'm exactly where I need to be. Then I blocked both my parents' numbers and turned to Sarah. Tomorrow we start building our platform. Tonight, we celebrate our independence. We stayed up until dawn, fueled by wine and takeout dumplings from the 24-hour place around the corner. Sarah showed me her entire digital portfolio, pieces that had been buried by Jason's aggressive SEO tactics and my father's influence over online gallery spaces. With each hour that passed, the weight of my father's rejection felt less like a burden and more like freedom. Dawn breaking. As the sun rose over Brooklyn's industrial skyline, I stood at Sarah's paint-spattered window, watching delivery trucks start their morning routes. You know what the best revenge will be? I said, scrolling through Maya's preliminary marketing strategy on my tablet. What? Success. Pure, undeniable, viral success. And when we achieve it, we won't owe him or his outdated gallery system a single thing. Little did I know then just how sweet that revenge would taste, or how high the price of disrupting the art world would be. But standing there in that moment, watching Sarah upload her first uncensored portfolio to our new Instagram account, I felt something I hadn't experienced since my first day as a curator: hope. 3 months later, the studio. 3 months into our venture, and our hybrid gallery space looked more like a tech startup than a traditional art showcase. Mia sat cross-legged on our only real furniture, a second-hand Eames chair she'd scored from a closing gallery, watching me adjust ring lights, while Sarah arranged her latest mixed-media pieces against the exposed brick wall. You know, Maya said, analyzing our latest engagement metrics, most people would have given up by now. Your follower count is growing, but we're still shadow banned on most platforms. I wiped sweat from my forehead, adjusting the camera angle for our upcoming live stream. Most people haven't met my father or his SEO team. The bell above the door chimed. We'd kept that one traditional touch, and a woman in Louboutins clicked across our unfinished concrete floor, her eyes fixed on her phone. Is this the gallery that's been causing such a stir on ArtNet? She looked up, revealing a face I recognized from countless Art World panels. I'm Margaret Chen from the Downtown Arts Coalition. It will be, I said, climbing down from the ladder. I'm Emily Thompson, and this is Sarah Miller, our featured artist. Gallery introduction. Margaret's eyes swept over Sarah's latest installation, a piece combining traditional oils with projected social media feeds, showing a woman breaking free from chains made of viral hashtags and golden verification marks. Interesting. Very raw, she mused, taking photos with her phone. But I've never seen either of you on the major gallery circuits. That's about to change, Sarah said, her voice stronger than I'd heard it in months. The constant harassment in her Instagram DMs had almost silenced her, but now she was standing tall. The Downtown Arts Coalition is hosting an NFT integrated exhibition next month. Margaret handed me her business card. Normally, we only invite established galleries, but she gestured to Sarah's piece, which she'd been documenting on her phone. How much? 3,000, I said without hesitation, ignoring Sarah's sharp intake of breath. We had priced it high intentionally. In this world, price often equaled legitimacy. Margaret raised an eyebrow, checking our gallery's social media presence on her phone. For an unknown artist, for a masterpiece. I met her gaze steadily. Look at how she integrates traditional techniques with digital elements. That's not just art. It's commentary on the very system that tried to silence her. She studied the piece for another long moment, the glow of her phone illuminating her thoughtful expression. 2,500, and I want exclusive rights to debut it on our platform. Done? She pulled out her phone to arrange the transfer. And I'll add you to the exhibition roster. Don't make me regret this. Celebration time. After she left, Sarah grabbed my arms, her paint-stained fingers leaving marks on my blazer. Are you insane? That piece wasn't even finished. It is now. I grinned, showing her Margaret's social media post about us already gaining traction. We just made our first legitimate sale. Maya clapped, already updating our analytics dashboard. This calls for celebration. I'm ordering pizza and posting this milestone. Later that evening, surrounded by empty pizza boxes and laptops displaying our growing online presence, Maya helped us crunch numbers. Okay, with Margaret's payment and our growing Patreon support, you can cover this month's rent and still have enough for upgraded streaming equipment. Evening strategy session. Barely, I muttered, looking at our dwindling startup fund. Our streaming equipment costs were eating into our reserves faster than anticipated. You need more publicity, Maya said, pulling up our analytics dashboard. I know this art tech blogger who— No, Sarah interrupted, her hands trembling slightly. No more publicity right now. What if Jason sees it and tries to copy this series too? Let him see it, I said, my voice hard with determination. Let them all see it. Maya, call your blogger friend. It's time to make some noise they can't silence. Gallery opening week. The next week passed in a blur of preparations. We worked 18-hour days, transforming the space into something that almost resembled a professional hybrid gallery. Almost. Between setting up the live streaming equipment and arranging Sarah's physical pieces, we barely slept. On opening night, exactly 6 people showed up in person. 1 was Maya, 2 were her parents, and the others were tourists looking for directions to a nearby coffee shop. Our live stream, however, had a modest but engaged 50 viewers. Well, this physical turnout is depressing, Maya said, munching on cheap cheese cubes while monitoring the stream chat. It's just the beginning, I insisted, but my voice wavered as I watched our viewer count fluctuate. Then the door opened, and my mother walked in, looking out of place in her designer outfit among our industrial chic decor. Mom, she looked around nervously, clutching her Prada bag. Your father doesn't know I'm here. Of course he doesn't. I crossed my arms, feeling the weight of my gallery owner ID card, this time one I'd printed myself. Why are you? Because she pulled an envelope from her purse. Because I saved this from your trust fund before he froze it. Inside was a check for $5,000. I tried to hand it back. I can't. Please. Her voice cracked. Let me do this one thing right. I've seen what he's been doing to your online presence. Unexpected visitors. Before I could respond, the door chimed again. This time it was the tech blogger Maya had contacted, accompanied by a professional live streaming crew. Perfect timing. Maya called out, already in PR mode. Sarah, show them your latest transmedia series. As Sarah led them through the gallery, explaining how each piece bridged the digital-physical divide, Mom squeezed my hand. You've built something revolutionary here. It's not enough, I whispered, watching our viewer count. Not yet. It will be. She kissed my cheek. I have to go, but Emily, she paused at the door. I'm proud of you. Digital breakthrough. 2 days later, the blog post went live, accompanied by a viral TikTok that captured Sarah's interactive art pieces. By that evening, our phones wouldn't stop buzzing with notifications. The next morning, 3 pieces sold through our digital platform before noon. Holy, Maya said, refreshing our analytics dashboard. The post went viral. We're trending in the art tech space. Sarah burst through the door, her tablet displaying endless social media alerts. Have you seen the comments? They actually get it. They understand what we're trying to say. I was about to respond when a new email popped up. My hands shook as I read it. What? Faith and Sarah asked simultaneously. The new museum's digital art initiative. I looked up, barely breathing. They want to feature Sarah's Breaking Free series in their Emerging Artist Showcase next month. Full virtual and physical exhibition. Sarah collapsed into our single designer chair. That's impossible. Your father's connections. That's karma, Maya said, already drafting social media announcements. And genuine talent beating artificial hype. I printed the email and pinned it to our inspiration wall, right next to screenshots of our first online sale. No, that's just the beginning. Now let's make them remember our names in both physical and digital spaces. Momentum building. The universe, it seemed, had finally decided to deal us a winning hand in both the traditional and digital art worlds. We just had to be brave enough to play it across all platforms. 2 years later, magazine feature, Breaking Barriers. The unstoppable rise of digital traditional artist Sarah Miller. I stared at the Art Forum digital cover on my tablet, still unable to believe it was real. The photo showed Sarah in our now thriving hybrid gallery space, surrounded by her latest mixed media installations, each piece seamlessly blending physical art with augmented reality elements. They actually credited me properly, Sarah whispered, touching her tablet screen. Not just my work, but my entire artistic vision. 2 years had transformed our shabby storefront into one of New York's most talked about experimental art spaces. The exposed brick walls now hosted pieces that regularly sold for 5 figures, each installation drawing both physical visitors and virtual audiences worldwide through our custom streaming platform. Maya burst through the door, balancing her laptop with one hand and a carrier of artisanal coffee in the other. Have you seen our wait list for virtual commissions? The queue for our installations is insane. I can't keep up with the demand, Sarah admitted, running her fingers through her paint-streaked hair. Maybe we should consider confrontation. The gallery door chimed. A familiar voice made my blood freeze. Quite an innovative space you've built here, Emily. I turned slowly. Dad. He stood there in his perfectly tailored suit, looking exactly as he had the day he'd fired me. Beside him, Jason shifted uncomfortably, his phone conspicuously dark for once. What do you want? I asked, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Can't a father visit his successful daughter? He spread his arms wide, taking in our hybrid exhibition space. I've been following your metrics. Very impressive engagement numbers, really. Sarah stepped forward, her tablet displaying side-by-side comparisons of her original works and Jason's inspired pieces. Because last I checked, you were still telling everyone I was a digital art fraud. Jason at least had the decency to look ashamed. Listen about those posts. Save it. I cut him off. Unless you're here to buy something or book a virtual tour, we're actually quite busy. The proposal, actually, Dad smiled his practiced gallerist smile. I'm here to discuss an opportunity. The Thompson Gallery Group is launching a digital art initiative. We'd like to feature your hybrid gallery as our flagship partner. Maya snorted, not looking up from her analytics dashboard. You mean now that they've proven disruptive technology can't be ignored, you want a piece of the algorithm? This could be beneficial for everyone, Dad continued, ignoring her. Think of the exposure, the established collector network, like the networks you used to shadow ban me? Sarah's voice shook, her tablet displaying screenshots of old takedown notices. To make sure no legitimate platform would touch my digital art. The past is the past, Dad waved dismissively. I'm offering you legitimacy in the traditional space. I laughed, and it wasn't a happy sound. Legitimacy? We built that ourselves while you were busy trying to delete us from the art world's algorithm. Be reasonable, Emily. This merger could. No. I walked to the door and held it open, our digital visitor counter ticking up, even as I prepared to remove 2 physical ones. We earned every bit of this success, despite your platform manipulation, not because of it. Now get out. You're making a mistake, he warned. The only mistake I made was spending 28 years trying to earn your approval instead of building something authentic. After they left, Maya let out a low whistle. That was better than any reality show live stream. Warning signs. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. He's furious. His team is planning something. Protect your platforms. I showed it to Sarah. We need to prepare. He won't let this digital disruption go unchallenged. Let him try something, Maya said, already typing on her tablet. I'm calling my contact at TechCrunch. It's time people knew the whole story of art world gatekeeping. Exhibition preparations. The next few weeks were a blur of exhibition preparations and platform security updates. We worked around the clock, transforming both our physical gallery and virtual space into a testament to artistic resilience in the digital age. One evening, as we were setting up the augmented reality overlays for the final pieces, a young digital artist approached Sarah. Your hybrid work saved my career, she said quietly. I was about to give up after being blacklisted from traditional galleries, but your art installations showed me a new way forward. Sarah hugged her, both of them crying, while the girl's own digital art flickered beautifully on her tablet. I stepped away to give them privacy and found Maya monitoring our security protocols. You know what the best part is, she said. Every time your father tries to claim credit for the digital art revolution, there are hundreds of stories like that proving him wrong. Opening night. The opening night of the show was packed, both physically and virtually. Art critics, collectors, tech journalists, and thousands of online viewers filled our hybrid space. I spotted Mom in the crowd, trying to be inconspicuous while streaming the event on her phone. Ladies and gentlemen, both here and online, I address the room and our global audience, my voice carrying over the buzz of conversation and chat notifications. Tonight isn't just about art. It's about breaking down barriers between traditional and digital spaces, about standing up when the establishment tries to silence new voices. Sarah joined me at the podium, her latest art piece floating beautifully above us. Every piece in this collection tells a story of survival, of fighting back, of refusing to let others define your worth in any medium. The crowd erupted in applause as cameras flashed and our stream exploded with supportive comments. I saw Dad watching from outside the gallery windows, his expression unreadable as he stared at our visitor counter, displaying both physical and virtual attendance numbers. Late night victory. Later that night, after the last physical guest left and our stream finally ended, we sat on the gallery floor, sharing champagne. We did it, Sarah said, raising her glass. We really did it. My phone buzzed with a news alert. The headline read, Thompson Gallery Group under investigation for digital art market manipulation. Maya peered over my shoulder and grinned. Karma's a funny thing in the digital age, isn't it? I thought about Dad's face at the window, about all the years of dismissal and doubt. The best revenge isn't just success, I said. It's success that helps others find their voice in any medium they choose. We clinked our glasses together, celebrating not just our triumph, but the sweet taste of justice served in both physical and digital spaces. 3 years later, family wedding. The invitation to my cousin Sarah's wedding appeared in both my physical and digital mailbox. The elegant e-card animation, as threatening as its paper twin. 3 years had passed since I'd seen most of my family, and now here I was, staring at gold-embossed cardstock and a perfectly designed digital invitation that threatened to drag me back into their world. You don't have to go, Maya said, perched on the edge of my desk, analyzing the wedding's social media presence. Send a nice gift and a heartfelt Instagram story. I do, though. I picked up the physical invitation. Sarah stood by us when everyone else was mass unfollowing. Wedding day. The day of the wedding arrived with perfect June weather and knots in my stomach. I adjusted my designer dress, bought with proceeds from our latest virtual exhibition, because sometimes the best revenge is looking incredible in both real life and social media tags. Emily, cousin Sarah rushed over, her wedding dress rustling. You came, wouldn't miss it. I hugged her carefully. You look beautiful. She does, doesn't she? I turned to find Jason standing there, looking uncomfortable in his groomsman's tux, his ever-present phone notably absent. Hello, Emily. Jason. My voice could have frozen his next viral post. I saw your gallery made the cover of Art Tech Monthly, he said, shifting his weight. Sarah's hybrid work is. It's really something. Yes, it is. The same innovative approach you once claimed as your own in your inspired posts. Sarah touched my arm. Please, not today. Of course. I forced a smile. Your day. Your rules. Reception tension. The ceremony was beautiful, but I felt eyes and smartphone cameras on me throughout. Whispers, stares, judgment. During the reception, I kept to the edges of the room until Mom found me. You look stunning, she said, touching my hair. The gallery's digital presence is incredible, you know. It is. I see you liking all our posts. She glanced around nervously. Your father's business. It's not good, Emily. The investigation into platform manipulation is his own doing. I sipped my champagne. He made his choices. He wants to talk to you about a digital partnership. No. I set my glass down harder than intended. I'm not his backup plan for entering the modern art world. Confrontation at the reception. Emily. Dad's voice behind me made me stiffen. We need to discuss this like adults. I turned to face him. He looked older, tired. The investigation into his digital market manipulation was clearly taking its toll. There's nothing to discuss, I said, watching the wedding guests discreetly filming with their phones. Your platform is dying, and you want my gallery's digital innovation to save it. The answer is no. You ungrateful, he caught himself, aware of nearby guests and potential social media exposure. Everything I did was for this family's legacy in the art world. No, everything you did was for your ego. I stepped closer. You protected Jason when he stole Sarah's digital concepts. You blacklisted her work across platforms. You tried to erase our online presence when I stood up to you. And now that we've succeeded despite your algorithmic warfare, you want to pretend it was all part of your grand digital strategy? The Thompson Gallery Network is your heritage, he hissed. Your birthright. My birthright? I laughed. You made it very clear what you thought of my birthright when you deleted my credentials and tried to bury our gallery in search results. Family confrontation. A small crowd had gathered, phones poorly concealed. Mom touched Dad's arm. Not here, Robert. Listen to your daughter, came a new voice. Sarah stood there in a stunning red dress, Maya beside her with our latest engagement metrics ready. She built something beautiful from your attempts to silence us. Don't try to take credit for it now. Dad's face darkened. You weren't invited. I invited them. Cousin Sarah stepped forward. Because they're family too, Uncle Robert. The family you tried to erase from the digital art world. The silence was deafening. Dad looked around at the watching faces and their ready phones, then straightened his tie. This isn't over. Yes, it is. I took Sarah's arm. Congratulations, Sarah. I'm sorry we disrupted your day. Unexpected confession. As we turned to leave, Jason called out, Sarah, wait. He rushed forward, pulling up something on his tablet. I just posted a public confession about your artwork. A full thread admitting everything. It's yours if you want it. Sarah took the tablet with trembling hands. Why now? Because I'm tired of faking engagement and stealing concepts. He looked at Dad. We all are. Outside the wedding venue. Outside in the warm evening air, Maya whistled low. Well, that was more viral worthy than any staged gallery opening. Are you okay? I asked Sarah, who was still scrolling through Jason's confession thread, watching the retweets multiply. I don't know, she smiled slightly, but I think I will be. The comments are overwhelmingly supportive. My phone buzzed, a text from cousin Sarah. Thank you for coming and for showing me what real artistic integrity looks like. I looked at Sarah and Maya, my chosen family, then back at the wedding venue where my blood family was dealing with the aftermath of digital truth. Let's go home, I said. We have a gallery to run and a new art world to build. Driving away. As we drove away, Sarah checked our latest platform metrics on her tablet. I caught a glimpse of Dad watching from the venue steps, his phone dark in his hand for once. For the first time, I felt no anger, no desire for revenge, just pity for a man who'd built his empire on artificial engagement and was watching it crumble under the weight of authentic connection. The best revenge, after all, wasn't just success. It was finding peace despite those who tried to silence your voice across every platform. Crisis alert. What do you mean someone hacked our cloud storage? I gripped my phone tighter, pacing the gallery floor as our screens flickered with warning messages. How is that possible? Maya typed frantically on her laptop. They're trying to corrupt our entire digital archive. The transfer logs show activity at 3 o'clock. Nearly everything in our virtual gallery is being targeted. Sarah burst through the door, face pale. The NFT certificates for the Miami show. Someone's trying to invalidate them. They've launched a massive denial of service attack against our platform. I didn't need to ask who. Only one person had enough spite and resources to orchestrate this level of digital warfare. Your father's getting desperate, Maya said, still coding defensive measures. The market manipulation investigation must be worse than we thought. Emergency response. My phone rang. Mom's number. I answered on speaker while watching Maya deploy our backup servers. Emily, please listen, she said, her voice shaking. He's not thinking clearly. The tech fraud investigators are closing in, and he's trying to crash everything. Again, I finished. Let me guess, he said if I just agreed to the merger. Stop defending him. The words exploded out of me. He's trying to destroy our entire platform, Mom. That's what your husband does. He destroys what he can't control and calls it business strategy. Legal notice. The gallery door chimed. A courier handed me a tablet to sign. Legal documents delivered electronically and in hard copy. As I read, my hands started shaking. What is it? Sarah asked, still working to protect our digital archives. He's suing us, claiming we built our success using proprietary algorithms from his gallery group. I threw the papers down. He's trying to take the gallery, both physical and virtual spaces. Maya stood up from her battle station. Not if we take him down first. Remember that confession Jason posted? Sarah pulled up the viral thread on her tablet. You think? I think it's time to stop playing defense. Maya grabbed her phone. I'm calling every tech journalist I know. Anonymous tip. The next few hours were chaos. Our lawyer arrived, followed by cybersecurity experts taking statements about the hack attempts. Tech reporters started calling. Social media exploded. Then my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Cloud backup location. Near 247. Encryption key 1983. What you need is there. Jay, Jason, I breathed. Maya, can you access it? Evidence discovery. The backup server was hidden in a secure cloud location. When we accessed it, we found terabytes of data, years of digital records from the Thompson Gallery Group. Holy, Maya whispered, scanning through the files. This is everything. Every manipulated review, every artificial engagement boost, including what he did to Sarah's early work, I asked. Especially that. She pulled up a folder. Emails proving he orchestrated her shadow banning and threatened platforms that tried to host her work. Gallery, Crisis Command Center. Back at the gallery, we found Sarah talking to a cybersecurity detective. The trace worked, she said. They've isolated the attack vectors and are freezing all unauthorized access. We've got something better. I connected Jason's drive to our main display. Dad's entire digital house of cards. The call. My phone rang again. Dad this time. I answered on speaker. You think you're clever, he snarled, playing with systems you don't understand. I understand perfectly, I replied, watching Maya back up the evidence to secure servers. You're going down, and you're trying to corrupt our data along with yours. But guess what? We have proof of everything. You wouldn't dare watch me. I hung up. Night of truth. That night, we worked with tech journalists, cybersecurity experts, and investigators, systematically laying out the evidence. By morning, it was everywhere. Social media, tech blogs, art news sites, mainstream platforms. Thompson Gallery Group CEO accused of systematic digital art market manipulation and artist suppression. Aftermath. Mom showed up around noon, looking exhausted. They've arrested him, she said quietly. The cyber crimes unit came this morning. Mom, I started, but she held up her hand. No, let me finish. I've spent years watching him destroy careers, manipulate platforms, hurt you. I'm done. She pulled out a USB drive. This has everything from his private servers, bot networks, engagement manipulation scripts, everything. Sarah gasped. Call me Madison. She straightened her shoulders. It's time I chose the right side. Moving forward, as she left, Maya looked at her watch. The Miami Digital Art Fair opens in 3 days. What do you want to do? I looked at Sarah. What do you think? She walked to her latest hybrid installation. A phoenix rising from a sea of corrupted data, more powerful than ever. I think we show them exactly who we are. Then let's do it right. I picked up my phone. Cousin Sarah, remember how you said you wanted to help? How fast can you get to Miami? The following days. The next few days were a blur of platform security upgrades, press statements, and legal meetings. But standing in the Miami exhibition space on opening night, watching Sarah's hybrid art installations shine while Dad's digital empire crumbled on every news feed, I felt something shift inside me. To Karma, Maya raised her champagne glass, her tablet showing our soaring engagement metrics. To family, Mom added, joining our circle. To authenticity, Sarah said. Reflection. I looked around at these strong women who'd stood by me, who'd helped turn revenge into digital revolution. To all of it, I said, and to whatever comes next. Because sometimes the sweetest victory isn't in watching your enemies' platforms crash. It's in building something so innovative they can't touch you anymore. Courthouse steps. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters and live streamers when Dad was let out in handcuffs. I watched from across the street, sipping coffee with Maya and Sarah while monitoring the live coverage on our tablets. 15 years, Maya read from the verdict notification, plus full restitution to all artists affected by market manipulation. "Look at him," Sarah whispered. "He still thinks he's untouchable, even in prison orange." Dad walked with his head high, ignoring questions, until one reporter shouted, "Mr. Thompson, any comment on your daughter's testimony about digital art suppression?" He stopped dead. His eyes found me across the street, and for a moment I saw raw hatred there. "You did this," he shouted. "My own blood." Officers pulled him toward the waiting van. I raised my coffee cup in a mock toast, watching our gallery's visitor counter tick steadily upward on my phone. Media frenzy. "Miss Thompson." Reporters swarmed toward us, phones and cameras extended. "How does it feel to expose the largest art market manipulation scheme in the digital age?" "No comment," Maya stepped between us. "My client is focusing on our gallery's upcoming international virtual expansion." Gallery. Later, back at the gallery, I found Mom waiting. She looked smaller somehow, older, her tablet clutched tightly in her hands. "The penthouse is being seized," she said without preamble. "All the digital assets are frozen." "You can stay with me," I offered. She shook her head. "Cousin Sarah's offered her guest house. I need time to figure out who I am without his influence." "Mom." Hidden truth. But first, she pulled out a thick folder and her tablet. "There's something you should see." Inside were photos and archived posts, dozens of them. Me winning digital art curation awards, screenshots of my early gallery reviews, backups of my first virtual exhibition designs. "He kept these in his secure cloud storage," Mom said. "Along with this." She showed me a digital document, dated the day he fired me. It was a draft of a succession plan, preparing to hand me control of the gallery's digital transformation. "He was proud of you," she said softly. "He just couldn't bear that you succeeded without his platform." "That's not pride." I closed the document. "That's control." Unexpected visit. The gallery door chimed. Jason walked in, looking nervous, his phone conspicuously absent for once. "Before you block me," he said quickly, "I need to say something." Sarah emerged from her studio, paint and pixels swirling around her latest art piece. "I'm sorry," he continued, "to both of you. I was a coward, and I let him turn me into someone who betrayed the very essence of digital art." "Why help us now?" I asked. "Because watching you two build something authentic, something truly innovative," he shrugged. "It made me realize what I threw away. New beginnings. If you're looking for forgiveness." Sarah started, her R installation flickering behind her. "I'm not. I'm looking to make amends." He pulled up his portfolio on his tablet. "I'm teaching digital art at the youth center now. These kids, they remind me of us before everything went wrong. They need mentors in the hybrid art space." Maya, who'd been unusually quiet, monitoring our platforms, spoke up. "We were actually discussing a community outreach program." "We were?" I looked at her. "We are now," she grinned, pulling up a project template. "Think about it. Hybrid art classes for underprivileged youth, virtual gallery scholarships, mentoring programs, using Dad's restitution money to help young digital artists. That's more than poetic justice, I mused. It's transformative. It's breaking the cycle, Sarah said, her latest R installation shimmering with new energy. Mom touched my arm. This is who you've always been, Emily. Even as a child, you tried to bridge gaps and lift others up. Planning session. The next few hours were spent brainstorming. By evening, we had the framework for a foundation, a real one, built on empowering artists instead of controlling them. My phone buzzed with a message from Dad's legal team. He wants a virtual visit. Are you going to accept? Maya asked, reading over my shoulder. No, I put the phone away. I'm done letting him dictate my presence in any space. Good, Sarah said, because we have work to do. She unveiled her latest hybrid piece, a massive canvas merged with dynamic R elements, showing hands reaching up through corrupted code toward pure light. It's for the youth center, she explained, to show them there's always a path through the digital noise. Breaking news. Speaking of up, Maya interrupted, looking at our latest analytics. Have you seen today's numbers? The Miami hybrid exhibition metrics are insane. Because people love an underdog story, Jason said. No, I corrected him. Because people love authentic art in any medium. Mom hugged me goodbye, whispering, I'm so proud of who you've become in both worlds. Evening reflection. As the sun set, casting long shadows through the gallery windows, while our R installations painted the walls with dancing light, I looked at these people, my chosen family, my reformed adversaries, my supporters. We'd turned revenge into renaissance, pain into purpose. Maya raised her ever-present coffee cup. To second chances. Jason added, to building something better. Sarah said, to authentic art. I thought about Dad in his cell, still believing in control and manipulation, still not understanding that true strength comes from empowering others, not suppressing them. To all of it, I said, and to the kids who never have to fight the system like we did. Final thoughts, because sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving someone wrong. I watched a group of young artists from Jason's program explore our latest R installation, their faces lit with wonder. It's creating something so right that it heals not just you, but everyone around you. Sarah adjusted the projection mapping on her latest piece. That's a victory worth fighting for. Maya checked our engagement metrics one last time. In both physical and digital spaces. In every space, I agreed, watching the future of art unfold before us in perfect hybrid harmony. Sometimes I wonder if everything would have been different if my dad hadn't died that spring morning at Stanford. I was only 6, but the memory is etched into my mind with the clarity of a high-resolution display. Dad was making his signature Sunday pancakes in our faculty housing kitchen. He always shaped them into binary code patterns, a quirky habit from his computer science lectures that never failed to make me laugh. Mom was setting the table, humming some Silicon Valley startups jingle that's probably obsolete now. Emma, sweetheart, come help your old man debug these pancake algorithms. Dad called out, waving his spatula like he was conducting a code review. I abandoned my tablet with its coding game, Dad's idea of age-appropriate entertainment, and rushed to the kitchen. That's when it happened. The spatula clattered against our sleek granite countertop, and Dad clutched his chest, his face contorting in pain. Everything after that becomes a blur of ambulance sirens, antiseptic hospital corridors, and Mom's mascara-stained tears. Just like that, my father, Stanford's rising star in computer science, was gone, leaving behind a Silicon Valley home that felt as empty as an unused server farm. Mom didn't stay in mourning long. She met Michael at a grief counseling group for tech industry professionals who'd lost their spouses. He seemed nice enough, tall, with kind eyes and a gentle smile that reminded me a bit of Dad, though he was more hardware than software, running his own construction company, while Dad had been pure theory and algorithms. Within a year, they were married, and he moved from his San Jose condo into our Palo Alto house. I was still adjusting to having a new father figure when Mom dropped another update to our family system. She was pregnant. I remember her face glowing like a well-lit screen as she announced I was going to be a big sister. I was 8 when Lucas was born, and that's when everything in our family's code started to break. That's when Mom quit her job at the tech startup where she'd been working since the dot-com boom. "Lucas needs me," she'd declare whenever anyone questioned her decision. These early years are crucial for cognitive development in the digital age. I wanted to ask about my early years, about whether they hadn't been crucial for my cognitive development too, but the words remained uncompiled in my throat. Instead, I watched as Mom's world gradually shrank until it revolved entirely around Lucas and his supposed tech prodigy potential. She'd forget to order my lunch delivery for school, then act surprised when I mentioned being hungry at dinner. "Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie," she'd say distractedly, already turning back to Lucas and his latest coding tutorial. I was so busy with Lucas's advanced programming class today. It wasn't just once or twice. It became our new normal, like a buggy code that no one bothered to fix. Michael noticed. I'd catch him watching Mom with a worried frown as she obsessed over Lucas's screen time, completely ignoring me at the dinner table. One evening, as I sat alone debugging my high school computer science project, he sat down beside me. "You know, Emma," he said quietly, helping me spot a missing semicolon. "Sometimes people get so focused on one window that they forget to check all their open tabs." As Lucas grew older, the tension in our house became impossible to ignore, like a system warning that kept flashing red. Michael tried talking to Mom countless times about her obsession with Lucas's supposed tech genius potential, but it always ended the same way, with Mom getting defensive and force quitting the conversation. I remember one particular evening when Michael brought it up during dinner. Lucas was about 5, mindlessly scrolling through an educational coding app, while Mom hovered over him, trying to convince him to complete just one more module. "Catherine," Michael said, putting down his tablet, "we need to talk about this. You can't keep micromanaging his screen time like this. He needs to learn to code, or not code, on his own." Mom's face immediately hardened like a frozen browser. "What are you trying to say? That I'm a bad mother? That I don't know how to raise the next Steve Jobs? That's not what I meant, and you know it," Michael replied, maintaining his calm like a well-optimized system. "But you've got 2 kids here, not 1. And a husband, too, by the way." I pretended to be very interested in my startup's latest app analytics on my phone, but I was processing every word. "Lucas needs me," Mom snapped. He's showing signs of exceptional pattern recognition. The educational consultant says he could be a prodigy. I had perfect SAT scores. I muttered under my breath, but nobody seemed to hear me over the sound of Lucas's coding game. The situation reached critical mass when Michael suggested enrolling Lucas in a local robotics club. I was sitting in our home office, supposedly updating my GitHub repository, when I heard them arguing in the kitchen. Absolutely not. Mom's voice peaked like a server overload. Do you know how competitive those clubs are? He could face rejection. It could damage his future prospects in the industry. For God's sake, Catherine, he needs real-world experience. You can't protect him from every system failure. But Mom wouldn't budge. Instead, she enrolled Lucas in private coding sessions at home. I still remember his sullen face as he sat there, mindlessly copying and pasting code snippets, while other kids his age were actually learning to think and solve problems. He quit after 3 sessions, and Mom blamed the instructor for not recognizing her son's unique approach to algorithmic thinking. Meanwhile, Michael started spending more time with me. Maybe it was his way of balancing out Mom's behavior. Or maybe he just saw a kid who needed someone in her corner. He'd drive me to my hackathons 3 times a month, sitting through every event, cheering louder than any other parent when I won my certificates. But while I was thriving under Michael's attention, building my own apps and learning real coding skills, Lucas was becoming increasingly difficult. He'd leave his workspace cluttered with half-eaten snacks and empty energy drink cans, hardware and cables everywhere. And Mom would turn to me with that look I'd come to dread. "Emma, be a dear and clean up Lucas's dev environment," she'd say, not really asking, but telling. One day, Michael caught wind of this arrangement. "She's not his system admin, Catherine," he protested. "He needs to learn to maintain his own workspace." That's when Mom burst into tears, pulling out her ultimate debugging tool. "I knew it. You love her more than your own son. How can you not see Lucas's potential in the tech industry?" I watched Michael's face fall, saw his resolve crash like a failed deployment. He looked at me apologetically, then raised his hands in surrender. "Fine, have it your way," he said quietly, walking away. After that, he stopped arguing with Mom about Lucas, but his expressions spoke volumes of uncompiled code. He hadn't given up on me, even if he'd given up on debugging Mom's behavior. It was a small comfort, like finding a working backup when your main system crashes. Stanford graduation day was bittersweet. As I stood in my cap and gown, scanning the crowd in the heart of Silicon Valley, I spotted Michael beaming proudly. Mom was there too, but she kept checking her phone, probably texting Lucas's online gaming coach. Later that evening, Michael called me into his home office. "I've been investing," he said, pulling out a folder full of startup pitch decks. "You can launch whatever you want, Emma. Sky's the limit." Before I could respond, Mom burst in. "You can't be serious," she exclaimed. "That seed money should be saved for Lucas's future startup. He's going to need it more than Emma. She's already got her corporate job." Michael's face hardened, an expression I'd grown familiar with during these system conflicts. "This is non-negotiable, Catherine. I've already committed to this investment." I ended up accepting a position at a promising startup in San Francisco, far enough to deploy my own life instance, but not so far that I couldn't push updates occasionally. The day Michael helped me move into my Nob Hill apartment, Mom couldn't come because Lucas had startup anxiety about her leaving. Startup life was exactly what I needed. For the first time, I felt free from the shadow of being the less favored child in our family's codebase. I called home weekly, but my conversations were mostly with Michael. Mom was always too busy managing Lucas's crypto portfolio. Your brother's going through a difficult pivot, Michael explained during one of our video calls, his voice sounding like a worn-out hard drive. He's gotten involved with these sketchy NFT traders. I tried getting him into some legitimate tech boot camps, but your mother. Let me guess, I interrupted, staring at my multiple monitors displaying actual work. She said you were crushing his entrepreneurial spirit. Exactly. Called me a dinosaur for suggesting he might need some structured learning. Michael sighed. She says I don't understand how the next generation of tech visionaries think. My visits to our family home in Palo Alto became less frequent as Lucas's behavior spiraled into increasingly questionable investment strategies. When I did come, he barely acknowledged my existence, holed up in his room with his multiple crypto tracking screens. The few times I caught glimpses of him, he looked pale and angry, his eyes glued to various Discord channels promising get-rich-quick schemes. After graduation, I had worked my way up to project manager at a promising AI startup. I stayed in San Francisco, building my career while watching from afar as my brother descended further into his self-imposed crypto cave. During one of my rare visits home, I tried knocking on his door. Lucas, want to grab coffee at that new tech hub? My treat. All I got in response was the sound of mechanical keyboard clicks and angry muttering about gas fees. Mom, passing by in the hallway, just shrugged. He's not feeling social today. He's very stressed about the market volatility, you know. The contrast between our lives couldn't have been starker. While I was delivering real products and leading development teams, Lucas was chasing meme coins and NFT drops, supported by Mom's endless rationalizations. Michael's disappointed face said it all. But by then, even he had largely given up on trying to intervene. By 27, I had finally saved enough for a down payment on my own place. It wasn't huge, just a modern one-bedroom condo in Soma, but it was mine. The day I got the keys, I couldn't stop smiling. All those years of careful financial planning, of meal prepping instead of DoorDash, and saying no to the latest iPhone releases had finally paid off. You all have to come see it, I said during my weekly video call home. I'm having a housewarming party next Saturday. I'll cook dinner. Michael, I'm even making your favorite lasagna. Wouldn't miss it for the world, kiddo. Michael replied warmly, his face pixelated but sincere on my screen. Mom's voice cut in from her separate window in the Zoom call. Oh, honey, I don't think we can make it. Lucas has a crucial crypto meetup that day. A meetup? I couldn't keep the skepticism out of my voice. What kind of meetup? Very important networking, Mom said vaguely. I could hear Lucas's mechanical keyboard clacking in the background. The day of the housewarming, only Michael showed up. He brought a potted succulent and a bottle of Napa Valley wine. Your mother sends her love, he said, but we both knew that was as real as a fake blockchain transaction. Over dinner, Michael filled me in on what was really happening at home. Lucas, now 20, had dropped out of 3 coding boot camps and spent his days either trading crypto or streaming to his handful of followers. Michael had tried to help, offering him a position managing the digital operations at his construction company, just as a starting point. You know, Michael explained, taking a sip of wine while glancing at the San Francisco skyline through my window, everyone needs to start somewhere in tech. Even Steve Jobs had a first job. But Catherine, he shook his head. Catherine said it would be beneath him. Can you believe that? Said Lucas was too visionary for traditional work. Too visionary to work, but not too visionary to burn through his crypto savings, I muttered. Michael gave me a sad smile. I keep trying, Emma. God knows I keep trying. That was the last real conversation we had. 2 months later, I got the call that changed everything. Michael had collapsed at a construction site, massive heart attack, just like my Stanford professor father. By the time I made it to Stanford Hospital, he was gone. The funeral was surreal. Mom put on quite a show, sobbing dramatically and telling anyone who would listen what a wonderful husband Michael had been. We were so happy, she wailed. How will we manage without him? What about Lucas's startup dreams? I watched her performance with a mix of disgust and pity. Her tears weren't for Michael, they were for her dwindling bank account. I could see the calculations running behind her grief-stricken facade. Michael had been the sole investor in their lives. Without his income, how would she maintain Lucas in his wannabe tech entrepreneur lifestyle? Lucas didn't even bother to wear a proper suit to the funeral. He showed up in a wrinkled Bitcoin t-shirt and jeans that had seen better days. He spent most of the service checking crypto prices on his phone, while Mom made excuses for him. He's processing his grief through market analysis. Standing there at Michael's grave in the Silicon Valley Memorial Park, I couldn't help but think about how history had repeated itself. Another father figure, another heart attack, another funeral. Only this time, I was old enough to see everything clearly, including the fact that Mom's tears were more about her depleted portfolio than her broken heart. A year after Michael's death, I had mostly lost touch with Mom and Lucas. What little I knew came from Aunt Linda's occasional LinkedIn messages. They're getting by on Michael's investments, she told me. Your mom sold his Tesla last month. His high-end workstation setup went before that. I tried not to care. I really did. But when Mom's number flashed on my iPhone one Tuesday evening, my heart still skipped a beat. Emma. Her voice sounded smaller than my laptop speakers. I need you to come home. Please. Something in her tone made me book a EFT for the next morning. When I pulled up to our old house in Palo Alto, I barely recognized the place. The once pristine lawn Michael had meticulously maintained was overgrown with weeds. Paint peeled from the window frames, and the smart home system seemed to be offline. But the house wasn't the only thing that had crashed hard. Mom opened the door, and I had to suppress a gasp. The vibrant woman I remembered had been replaced by someone who looked like she'd aged exponentially. Deep wrinkles lined her face, and her hair, which she'd always kept perfectly styled for her Instagram, showed stark gray roots. Come in, she said, leading me into the living room. The house smelled musty, and dishes were piled in the sink. A thin layer of dust covered everything, including Lucas's collection of gaming monitors. This from the woman who used to make me rewrite code if she spotted a single syntax error. Mom, what's going on? I asked, settling onto the couch. A spring dug into my thigh. Another thing Michael would have fixed immediately. She broke down almost immediately. We're running out of money, Emma. My pension barely covers the Wi-Fi bill and Michael's investments. She twisted her hands in her lap. They're almost depleted. What about Lucas? Is he contributing anything to the household expenses? Mom's face did that complicated dance between embarrassment and defensiveness. He's looking for seed funding. It's not his fault. These venture capitalists, they just don't understand his vision. The last startup accelerator wanted him to have a working prototype, and the one before that expected him to show revenue projections. With his innovative ideas, I felt my jaw tightening. Mom, in the current tech landscape, he needs to show some actual development skills or business metrics. You don't understand. She cut me off, her voice rising to that familiar pitch that always preceded a Lucas defense. Then, abruptly, her tone changed. Emma, we need your help. We won't survive without it. I hate to ask, but you're doing so well in your startup career. I knew what was coming. Part of me wanted to refuse, to remind her of all the times she chose Lucas's imaginary potential over my actual achievements. But looking at her worn face, the trembling hands, the desperate eyes, I couldn't. How much do you need? When she said $5,000 per month, I nearly choked on my LaCroix. That was a significant chunk of my salary, even with my recent promotion. But I found myself nodding anyway. Where's Lucas now? I asked as I prepared to leave, already regretting my decision. Oh, he's at a Web3 conference. Mom brightened slightly. A very promising networking opportunity with some crypto VCs. Through the window, I could see Lucas's bedroom light on, and the familiar glow of multiple screens displaying crypto trading charts. Some things never changed. True to my word, I set up an automatic transfer of $5,000 to Mom's account every month. Each time I saw that deduction from my bank balance, I told myself it was the right thing to do, even if it meant postponing my own startup dreams or delaying my angel investing plans. I started visiting more frequently, though each visit felt like walking into a failed startup's office. Lucas was always there, either glued to his trading screens or sprawled on the couch with his fourth Red Bull of the day. How's the startup coming along? I'd ask. Mind your own exit strategy, he'd snap, or sometimes just grunt and turn up the volume on his crypto YouTuber streams. During the holidays, I couldn't stand seeing the living room in such disarray. The smart home system was completely offline, and there was water damage near the mining rigs that would have driven Michael crazy. So I spent my year-end bonus hiring contractors to fix it up. When Mom sprained her ankle in February, I called to check on her. "Oh, it's not so bad," she said, though I could hear the pain in her voice. "Is Lucas helping you?" "He's busy with some important Discord meetings." I hired a home health aide the next day. The money I'd been saving for seed investments went to cover her wages for the next 3 weeks. Then came the day I walked into the house and found a stranger sprawled across our sofa. She looked like she'd stepped out of a TikTok influencer's feed. Designer athleisure, perfectly contoured makeup, and a phone permanently attached to her hand. She was scrolling through her Instagram, surrounded by empty Soylent bottles and protein bar wrappers. "Who are you?" I asked, though I had a sinking feeling I knew the answer. Lucas emerged from his room. "This is Ashley," he announced. "My fiancée. She's an upcoming tech influencer. She lives here now." Ashley didn't even look up from her phone, just kept scrolling through her TikTok feed. I watched in disbelief as she reached into the grocery bag I'd just brought and helped herself to the organic snacks I'd bought for Mom. "Nice to meet you too," I muttered under my breath. Later that evening, I called Mom to get her take on the situation. "Oh, Emma," she sounded more animated than I'd heard her in months. "Isn't it wonderful? Ashley has over 10,000 followers. She's going to help Lucas launch his personal brand. She's been such a good influence on him. He hasn't lost money on NFTs in weeks. That's because he's spending my support money on her designer loungewear," I thought, remembering the shopping bags I'd spotted in the recycling bin. But I held my tongue. "And he's talking about launching a startup," Mom continued excitedly. "Ashley's cousin knows someone at a crypto VC firm. Lucas says it could be his big break into Web3. I made non-committal noises while thinking about the dozens of big breaks Lucas had mentioned over the years. But Mom was so happy, living in her bubble of perpetual tech dreams, that I didn't have the heart to burst it. My next visit home started like any other. I juggled bags of groceries as I pushed open the front door, only to stop dead in my tracks. The house looked like a failed startup after a funding crash. Dirty dishes piled high in the sink, empty energy drink cans scattered across every surface, and discarded tech packaging strewn about the living room floor. Ashley lay sprawled on the couch, perfectly manicured nails tapping away at her latest TikTok draft. She didn't even look up as I set down the groceries. "You know," I said, my voice sharp, "you live here rent-free, eating food that I pay for. The least you could do is help maintain the workspace." She looked up slowly, a smirk playing across her heavily filtered face. "Who do you think you are to come in here giving orders? This isn't your startup. I grew up here," I shot back. "You're just a late-stage addition." That's when she laughed, a harsh, triumphant sound that reminded me of crypto bros at their worst. "Oh, honey, you've got it all wrong. This house belongs to Lucas now. Your mom signed everything over to him. There's a legal document and everything. Something about securing his future as a tech founder." I found Mom in the kitchen, organizing startup pitch decks she never sent out. "Is it true?" My voice sounded strange in my own ears. "Did you make Lucas the sole inheritor?" She wouldn't meet my eyes at first, fiddling with the papers in front of her. Then something seemed to harden in her expression. "Yes," she said flatly. "It's true. I don't understand." The words came out barely above a whisper. "I'm the one helping you. I'm the one sending money every month. Lucas doesn't work, doesn't contribute anything, just burns through crypto. Don't you dare talk about your brother that way." Mom's voice rose sharply. "You don't understand his vision. You never have. You're too caught up in your traditional tech job. Understand what? That he's a wannabe crypto bro? That he's perfectly content to live off my salary while his influencer girlfriend turns our home into her content house? Oh, stop being so negative." Mom's face twisted into something I didn't recognize. "You want to know the truth? I never loved you the way I love Lucas. He's the next Steve Jobs, the next Elon Musk. You? You're just conventional, playing it safe with your real job and your proven technology. And I don't want to see you here anymore. The words hit like a failed deployment in production. All these years, I'd told myself that Mom did love me. She just showed it differently. That somewhere beneath her obsession with Lucas's supposed tech genius, she cared about me too. Now I knew better. I turned and walked out, Ashley's triumphant laughter following me down the hall. The sound of her recording another TikTok about toxic family drama echoed behind me. 21 years of hoping, of making excuses, of trying to earn my mother's love. All of it ended with the quiet click of a door closing behind me. The drive back to San Francisco from Palo Alto was a blur. I don't remember the commute. Don't remember walking through Soma. Don't even remember entering my key code. But I do remember the moment of clarity that came as I stared at my banking app, at the automatic transfer to Mom's account. $5,000 every month for the past year. My finger hovered over the screen for a moment before I decisively clicked Cancel Recurring Payment. For the next few weeks, I threw myself into my actual tech work, trying to ignore the hole in my budget that suddenly felt like seed funding for my own future. I started researching angel investment opportunities for the money I'd been sending home. Maybe I could finally start my own AI company, a real startup, not just a fantasy. Then, exactly 1 month after my last visit home, Mom called. The money didn't come through, she said without preamble. No hello. No how's your latest project. There must be some mistake with the transfer. There's no mistake, I replied, surprised by how steady my voice was. I canceled the transfers. There was a moment of stunned silence before she exploded. You what? How dare you? After everything I've done to support the next generation of tech innovators, I actually laughed at that. Everything you've done? Like what, Mom? Ignoring my actual achievements. Forcing me to bankroll Lucas's crypto addiction? Telling me I'm too conventional while I'm actually building real products? That's different. She was using her familiar Lucas defense voice. You know I was upset, but you can't just stop helping us. We're counting on that money. Lucas and Ashley are planning to attend an exclusive Web3 retreat in Miami. They need to network. They need to network. I interrupted, my voice rising. The Lucas needs networking from what, exactly? His failed NFT projects? His zero GitHub commits? Let me tell you something, Mom. Lucas doesn't need a Web3 retreat. He needs a real job. How dare you speak about your brother that way? You're just jealous because. Because what? Because you left everything to him? Fine. You made your choice. Now he can bootstrap his own life. You ungrateful, close-minded little. The rest of her tirade dissolved into a stream of accusations about how I didn't understand the future of technology. I let her rant for a moment before speaking again. Goodbye, Mom. Don't call me again. I blocked her number before she could respond. But Mom wasn't done. Over the next few weeks, the messages started pouring in through every possible channel. LinkedIn messages about how she was struggling to pay the internet bill. Instagram comments about what a terrible daughter I was. Emails detailing all the tech opportunities I was denying Lucas, most of which sounded like obvious scams. Lucas joined in too, sending aggressive Discord messages about how I was destroying the family's future. "Mom's crying because of you," he wrote. "You better start sending money again, or my next viral tweet will be about you." I blocked him too, but not before replying, "Here's a crazy idea. Try writing actual code instead of tweets." Ashley even tried reaching out through AngelList, of all places, with a long message about how I was breaking my poor mother's heart and how Lucas was too much of a visionary to handle the constraints of regular development work right now. I had to admire her platform diversity, at least. It's been 6 months now. I don't know how they're managing their crypto portfolio, and for the first time in my life, I don't feel guilty about that. Maybe they've finally realized that Lucas needs to learn actual development skills. Maybe they're still waiting for me to cave in and start sending money again. Maybe they found another angel investor to manipulate. The truth is, I don't need to know. What I do know is that the $5,000 I used to send them every month has gone into my own startup's seed funding. I know that I sleep better at night, no longer awakened by angry messages or guilt-tripping calls about missed crypto opportunities. I know that Michael would be proud of me for finally deploying boundaries. The other day, I drove past a coding bootcamp and saw a "Now Enrolling" sign. For a moment, I thought about taking a picture and sending it to Lucas. But then I just smiled and kept driving. Their technical debt isn't my responsibility anymore. Finally, after all these years of supporting failed deployments, I'm free to build my own future.